Hello there, I'm here with LIC's Pasture to Profit consultant, Bess Jowsey, and we're going to be talking breeding. During this key time, there are so many things to get right to achieve a high fertility performance. We'll be covering about how to identify and deal with non-cyclers, as well as heat detection, and hopefully we'll give you some useful information on how to get the most of this year's breeding season. Bess, if we start by talking about non-cyclers, in a typical block calving situation, what percentage of the herd should be seen cycling before we attempt to put them back in calf?
Hi everyone, and thanks Sarah. So identifying and treating non-cyclers is a crucial part of any herd fertility program, regardless of your calving pattern, as getting cows back in calf early is a key driver of profit in dairy farming. In a block calving scenario, targets are described as a 6-week in calf rate, and to drive improvement in this, we're always in a race against time. So understandably, ensuring as many cows as possible are cycling naturally before we start getting them in calf will increase the chances of successfully improving your 6-week in calf rate. In a typical block calving scenario of around 12 weeks, with a relatively condensed early calving pattern, we should see at least 85% of the herd cycling before the planned start of breeding.
Okay, so how about the cows that haven't cycled? How do we find these?
In all year-round calving herds, there's usually a technology-based mechanism for flagging up cows that have been calved a certain number of days but haven't been served, and at this point they would be drafted and checked. Some are more proactive protocol, so as cows reach a certain number of days post-calving, they would be drafted for a vet check to identify problem cows early. In a block calving scenario, as we have the whole or a large proportion of the herd cycling at the same time, we can let the cows do most of the work for us. And the easiest way to do this is to do pre-mating heat checks. This involves tail painting the whole herd 4 weeks before the planned start of mating. And then after 3 weeks, we would record any cows that still have their tail paint, with the assumption that as they haven't been rubbed, they are a non-cycler. And of this group of non-cyclers, hopefully no more than 15% of the herd, there will be a certain number that have obvious reasons why they aren't cycling, and good record keeping will help us explain why. The cows we really need to find are those that have no good reason to be a non-cycler.
Well, now that we've identified the non-cyclers, what do we do with them?
So the first thing we need to do is work out which are the genuine non-cyclers. Obvious reasons for non or delayed cycling in cows in a block calving herd, or in any herd for that matter, are having calved too recently, or they've maybe calved with twins or had difficult time at calving. All types of ill health, including lameness, mastitis, high somatic cell counts, milk fevers and other metabolic disorders, all of these have the potential to delay the onset of cycling. And body condition score at calving can also contribute. So cows calving too fat or too thin can show delayed cycling as well, along with any cows who have lost excessive weight post-calving, often due to illness. These can be related to nutrition management or high levels of competition within the herd. But in most cases, farmers will have already intervened and treated these animals, and 9 times out of 10, they just need a little bit more time to recover. So at this point, it's up to the farmer to decide whether it's cost effective to put all of these cows up for a vet to double check. As I said earlier, the cows we really need to identify and deal with are those that have no obvious reason for delayed cycling. I call these genuine non-cyclers, and they should be drafted in the spare week before the planned start of mating and submitted for a vet to diagnose and treat if necessary. So ideally, when block calving, every cow in the herd will have either cycled or will have been checked before breeding begins.
What's the sort of percentage of non-cyclers that would worry you? And what should farmers be doing if they are recording these sorts of numbers? Can Pasture to Profit consultants help here, and how?
So if you have a typical block calving herd with a high proportion of early calvers, I'd be concerned about seeing more than 15% that haven't cycled pre-breeding. If you are transitioning your calving pattern, or you have a longer, more even calving spread, then this 15% figure is less applicable, but my guess is that this is something that you'll need to aim for in the future. So if you are seeing more than 15% non-cyclers, to me this suggests that there's something management-wise that needs to improve, so that you'll need to diagnose what this is and the reasons why to ensure you take the right course of action. And this is where a pasture to profit consultant can help. It's easy to get stuck in the day-to-day grind, and often a fresh set of eyes with some good questioning from someone off-farm can raise potential issues that you haven't yet picked up on. I know situations where pre-mating heat checks have alerted farmers to mild rumbling herd health issues, and this has essentially rescued them from a potentially devastating fertility results. Unfortunately, in block calving, 1 year of bad results can set you back many years of progress and have a significant detrimental effect on farm profitability while you recover the lost ground.
Yes, we always say heat detection needs a team approach before breeding starts. What are the essential checks that we need to carry out?
Yes, Sarah, so heat detection generally does need a team approach. In most cases, herds are interacting with multiple people, and therefore having everybody involved in some capacity during breeding can be hugely advantageous, as long as they know what to look for. We all know that a missed heat costs us money. So if we're going to expect those involved to be accurate, we need to equip them with the tools and skills they'll need to do the job right. Firstly, to all the farm managers and herd managers listening, make sure the cows are easy to identify. During heat detection, we need to be able to do this quickly and sometimes at a distance. So make sure all stock have their management ear tags or freeze brands not just present, but also correct and easy to read. All staff who are going to be involved during the breeding period should have some form of refresher training. As heat detection is a seasonal task in block calving herds, it's easy to forget even the basics when your focus has been elsewhere for so long. So this refresher should not only include how to visually identify bulling cows and where they might be on the estrus cycle, but also the overall farm protocol on heat detection, especially any expectations of where and who the cow numbers need to get to before milking or drafting time. On top of this, a decision needs to be made on any heat detection aids that will be used on the farm.
Heat detection aids, are they an essential part of the mating toolkit, and what's available now?
Heat detection aids can be an essential part of heat detection efficacy. Common aids used in block calving herds are tail paint or crayons, scratch cards or friction activated type strips, as well as time pressure heat mount devices. Each of these different heat detection aids have pros and cons, so it's worth investigating which, or perhaps a combination of which, might be best for your farm situation. Heat detection aids are essentially our eyes when we aren't watching, but they should not be our only source of information when deciding to submit a cow for breeding. Other signs of estrus should also be present, the primary of which is observing a cow standing to be ridden. Heat or herd observations and paddock checks can also be an essential part of heat detection efficacy. These will help identify cows that are a bit too shy to join in properly with the sexually active group. They kind of tend to loiter around the periphery of the group, and they often don't have their heat detection aid activated. So if using heat detection aids, it's really crucial that they are applied correctly and maintained. And this might mean upskilling the farm team also on how to interpret the subtleties of the heat detection aid and how they can be activated.
Okay, now Bess, when is the best time to watch cows, and what should the team be looking for?
So the best time for observations is a few hours after milking. This gives time for the cows to get back to the paddock, have something to eat and drink before the sexually active group will start to congregate together. They're usually quite easy to spot. Basically, it's a group of cows that are kind of mingling around and milling around together. They're often near the water trough, or if they're indoors, it's somewhere where they will feel safe, have safe footing to display the energetic bulling behaviours. There may be more than one group, and so it's worth taking your time to make sure you spot all of the different sexually active groups. I often suggest taking a can of something to enjoy, opening and consuming it when you're at the paddock. That usually gives a good amount of time to observe and move about so you can correctly identify the individual cow numbers. As I mentioned previously, the primary sign of estrus is observing a cow on standing heat, but riding and cavorting with other cows, generally being nervous and excitable. Rub marks on the head, tail head, pins and hips are often present. There may be mud on the flanks. Cows will often have a red swollen vulva as well as possibly a clear discharge. They're all secondary signs of estrus that you can watch out for. And obviously, to make sure we're accurate with our numbers, we need to be taking something to write those numbers down or record those numbers accurately. If there's only time on farm for one observation per day, then after evening milking, or especially towards dusk, are when sexually active groups are most prolific.
To summarise, take us through the most important points to focus on in the next couple of months.
So number one is pre-mating heat checks, and that's to identify, check for non-cyclers and treat them if necessary before the start of breeding. Number two is to have a clear plan for responsibilities and farm protocol in relation to heat detection during breeding. Number three is to upskill and refresh the farm team on heat detection protocol, the physical signs of estrus, and the successful use of any heat detection aids. And a useful tool when using heat detection is that if in doubt, draft her out, and a decision can be made when it comes time to inseminate her.
If in doubt, draft her out. A good tip there, Bess. Thanks a lot. Some really interesting points here, and a good checklist for all farmers who should be focusing on ensuring breeding is done both efficiently and that fertility in the herd is maintained. Remember, our Pasture to Profit consultants are available throughout lockdown, on the phone or via a Zoom conference call, at an hourly rate of £100. They're classed as essential workers, so can come and walk your farm to give you some up-to-date advice, or you can easily send them pictures or video to review. When visiting, social distancing will be maintained at all times. Contact Bess for Northern England and Scotland on 07717 732 324, Piers Badnell for Southern England on 07970 682 798, or Sean Chubb for Wales and Central England on 07833 228 501. Alternatively, you can go to licnz.com/UK CFM and go to the Contact Us page to send any of them an email. Thank you all for listening.